The message came on a Tuesday. Alex Mason rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the monitor. At 47, he had spent most of his adult life listening to the stars at NASA's Deep Space Communications Center in New Mexico. For decades, the vast array of radio telescopes had picked up nothing but cosmic background noise and the occasional pulsar. Until now, the pattern was unmistakable. 3 short bursts, followed by a long signal, then repeated in perfect mathematical sequence. No natural phenomenon could create such precision. "Hey, Rita," Alex called to his colleague who was dozing in a chair nearby. "I need you to verify something." Rita Patel groaned and shuffled over, her NASA coffee mug clutched tightly in her hand. She leaned over Alex's shoulder and squinted at the screen. "That's..." She paused, suddenly wide awake. "That can't be right." Alex nodded. "Run it through the verification protocol." Rita's fingers flew across the keyboard. 3 separate algorithms confirmed what they already knew. This was an artificial signal from deep space. "We need to call the director," Rita whispered. Within hours, the quiet facility transformed into a hive of activity. Government officials in dark suits rushed in. Military personnel established a secure perimeter, and Director Karen Wilson stood in the center of it all, speaking directly to the President of the United States. The message, once decoded, was simple: "We come in peace." 3 days later, the Zirconian ship entered Earth's orbit. It was massive, nearly a mile long, with a crystalline structure that refracted sunlight into rainbow patterns across the sky. People around the world stared upward, some in fear, others in wonder. Susan Blackwood had never expected to become the Secretary of Interstellar Relations. Until last week, such a position hadn't existed. At 53, she had been the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, a job that now seemed trivial compared to greeting humanity's first alien visitors. The landing site was a flat desert area in Nevada. Susan stood beside President Linda Hayes as the ship descended. The air shimmered with heat from the vessel's engines. When the ramp extended and the aliens emerged, Susan's diplomatic training barely kept her composure. The Zirconians stood nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies composed of what looked like living crystal. Light passed through their transparent forms, creating complex patterns that seemed to change with their moods. Krell, the Zirconian ambassador, approached with 3-fingered hands held open, and what they had transmitted was a gesture of peace. "We greet the people of Earth," Krell said, the words translated through a device at what might have been a throat. "We bring friendship from the stars." The world celebrated. Parades filled streets from New York to Tokyo. Religious leaders debated the theological implications. Scientists clamored for access to alien technology. But Susan noticed something during the diplomatic meetings. When Earth representatives were not speaking, the Zirconians whispered among themselves. Their crystalline bodies dimmed slightly when certain topics arose, like other alien civilizations. 1 week after first contact, Susan requested a private meeting with Krell. "There's something you're not telling us," she said directly when they were alone. "I'm a diplomat. I recognize anxiety when I see it, even in a being made of crystal." Krell's body flickered with blue light, what Susan had come to recognize as surprise. "You are perceptive for such a young species," Krell said. "We have not been entirely forthcoming." The truth emerged slowly. The Zirconians hadn't come merely for friendship. They had come seeking protection. The galaxy, Krell explained, was dominated by 3 major powers locked in a Cold War that had lasted thousands of years. The Vorn Collective, a hive-mind species that assimilated all in their path. The Meridian Empire, conquerors who believed in their divine right to rule. And the Quantum Consciousness, beings who had evolved beyond physical form. "We are caught between their territories," Krell explained. "We hoped Earth's isolation might provide a sanctuary. Your world is considered primitive, not worth conquering yet. We could share knowledge while hiding in your shadow." What Krell didn't know, what no alien suspected, was that humans had been preparing for this moment for decades. 300 feet below the Rocky Mountains, General William Carter watched the news of the alien landing on a large screen. Around him, in a vast underground chamber nicknamed the Vault, engineers worked on spacecraft that looked nothing like conventional NASA designs. Status report, Carter barked. A young engineer approached with a tablet. The reverse-engineered propulsion system is at 92% efficiency, sir. The Nevada team has confirmed the Zirconian technology follows similar principles to what we salvaged from the 97 crash site. Carter nodded. For 50 years, since a small alien scout ship had crashed in the Arizona desert, the U.S. military had operated a secret space program. The public knew nothing of the 3 other crash sites discovered worldwide, or the technology salvaged from them. The general turned to a secure phone and dialed the president's private line. Madam President, the visitors match none of the species from our recovered crafts. This is a new player. He paused, listening. Yes, ma'am. Operation Stardust is ready to implement. We've been waiting for a catalyst like this. That evening, as Susan prepared for another meeting with the Zirconians, her phone rang. Secretary Blackwood, President Hayes said, I need you to come to a secure briefing. There are things about our space capabilities you need to know before tomorrow's negotiation. Susan frowned. What things, Madam President? The official story of our first contact is about to begin, Hayes replied. But the real story started 50 years ago, and when the Zirconians realize what we've been hiding, everything will change. As Susan was driven to the White House, she noticed more stars than usual in the night sky. One of them moved in a way no natural object would. She watched it trace an arc across the darkness before vanishing. The game was about to begin, and humanity had already dealt its first card. 50 years had passed since the Zirconians first landed on Earth. The world had changed in ways few could have imagined. Dr. Olivia Grant stood on the observation deck of the Europa Research Station, watching Jupiter's massive form fill half the sky. At 38, she was the youngest person ever to lead the Interstellar Transportation Initiative. Today, she would unveil humanity's first official, faster-than-light drive to a delegation of alien representatives. The Vorn ambassador has arrived, her assistant said through the comm system. The others are already in the presentation hall. Olivia straightened her blue uniform and nodded. I'll be right there. The presentation went exactly as planned. Aliens from 7 different species watched with what passed for impressed expressions as Olivia revealed the FTL prototype. She explained how humans had recently achieved the breakthrough after studying principles shared by our galactic friends. The Meridian Empire's ambassador, a tall humanoid with golden skin, approached her afterward. Remarkable progress for such a young species, he said. His translator converted the musical tones of his language. At this rate, humans might establish a dozen colonies beyond your solar system within the next century. Olivia smiled politely. We're just happy to be taking our first steps into the galactic community. What none of the aliens knew was that the drive she had just unveiled was already outdated by human standards. It was 6th-generation technology, carefully crafted to appear impressive but not threatening. 300 light-years from Europa Station, far beyond where any alien believed humans could travel, Commander Samantha Wright removed her helmet as she stepped onto the surface of the planet designated HD 259871b. Her survey team of 12 spread out around the landing site. Oxygen levels at 26%, reported Luis Garcia, checking his instruments. Gravity at 1.2 Earth standard. Temperature, 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It's paradise, Commander. Samantha nodded. Begin standard survey protocol. I want sample collection and perimeter beacons set up before nightfall. This was the 47th world her ship, Pathfinder, had explored in the past year. None of the major galactic powers knew about these missions. The ship's advanced stealth systems, reverse-engineered from technology found in the crash sites on Earth decades ago and improved upon, made it invisible to all known detection methods. Tom, the unmarked comms channel, a message came through. Outpost Tango 7 successfully established in the Bernard star system. Local resources exceeding expectations. Samantha smiled. Another piece of the silent network falling into place. Back in the solar system, Jack Porter guided his mining ship toward a large asteroid in the Kuiper Belt. To any observer, he was just one of hundreds of independent contractors supplying raw materials to the growing human settlements throughout the solar system. Control, This is Frontier Resources Ship Delta. Beginning extraction on target KR-1872, he reported over the public channel. Copy that, Delta. Proceed with standard protocols, came the reply. Once the public transmission ended, Jack switched to a secure channel. The asteroid before him was no ordinary mining target. It was hollow, converted years ago into one of the most productive shipyards in human space. Inside, automated systems built vessels that would never be registered in any official database. Military ships with capabilities far beyond what humanity publicly admitted to possessing. Colony ships that would travel to stars no alien knew humans could reach. Status report, Jack said into his private comm. Dreadnought-class vessels 7 through 15 are at 89% completion, replied the AI system managing the facility. Colony ships in Batch 22 are ready for deployment. Stealth field generators are functioning at optimal levels. Jack nodded in satisfaction. Similar facilities existed throughout the outer solar system, hidden in plain sight. Together, they had constructed over 300 warships and nearly 1,000 colony vessels in the past decade alone. On Earth, in a garden outside the global Unity building in Geneva, the Zirconian ambassador Terex, a descendant of Krell, conversed quietly with President Howard Chen. The Meridian Empire has expanded its territory again, Terex said, his crystalline body dimming with concern. They've annexed 3 systems near the Rigel sector. President Chen nodded gravely. That's troubling news. Has the Galactic Council taken any action? The Council remains deadlocked as usual, Terex replied. The Vorn and the quantum consciousness block any meaningful sanctions. What Terex didn't know was that President Chen already had this information, and much more. Catherine Howard, officially listed as a cultural attaché to the Galactic Council, had sent a complete report 3 days earlier. Her network of human agents, genetically modified to pass as members of various alien species, had infiltrated every major power in the galaxy. Catherine herself sat in a nondescript office on the Galactic Council's headquarters station. To all appearances, she was preparing cultural exchange documents. In reality, she was coordinating the most sophisticated intelligence operation in known space. Asset Twilight reports the Vorn fleet movements near Sector 7 have increased by 40%, her assistant said quietly. Catherine didn't look up from her screen. Inform Outpost Sierra 9 to activate containment protocol, and have our people in the Meridian Diplomatic Corps push harder for those trade negotiations. We need their attention focused away from the border regions. At the edge of Vorn collective space, Steve Wright managed what appeared to be a modest trading post. Alien merchants stopped there regularly to exchange goods and information. None realized the outpost served as a key hub for the underground, a vast network helping persecuted minority species escape from oppressive regimes. A small ship docked, its hull scorched from weapons fire. Steve quickly ushered the occupants inside, a family of avian beings with iridescent feathers. You're safe now, he told them through a translator. In 3 days, you'll be transported to a colony where others of your kind have established a community. The father of the family spread his wings in a gesture of gratitude. The Vorn would have forced us into labor camps. How can we repay you? Steve smiled. Just remember that humans helped you when others wouldn't. On Planet Forge, hidden deep in an uncharted nebula, Admiral Daniel Ross watched as the final components were installed on the 10,000th human warship. The vessel incorporated technology from 17 different species, some freely shared, others reverse-engineered, all improved upon by human innovation. She's beautiful, his executive officer commented. Daniel nodded. And just in time. The galaxy is changing, Maya. The Cold War won't stay cold forever. When it heats up, will we be ready? She asked. Admiral Ross watched as the ship's engines glowed to life, a brilliant blue that outshone even the nebula surrounding them. That's what we've been preparing for all along, he said quietly. By the time they realize what we've built here, it will already be too late. 120 years after first contact, the galaxy was changing. Small skirmishes had broken out between the major powers. Border disputes grew more frequent. The Cold War was warming up. Catherine Howard sat in her office on the Galactic Council Station. At 62, she had served as Earth's cultural attaché for over 30 years. Her hair had turned silver, but her mind remained as sharp as ever. To alien observers, she seemed like a pleasant, somewhat unremarkable human diplomat. In reality, she directed the most extensive intelligence network in known space. Catherine's desk console chimed softly. A message appeared, encoded in a way that looked like standard diplomatic correspondence. Only she could see the real message hidden within. Meridian fleet movements in sectors 117 through 122. 27 capital ships. Destination appears to be Vorn border. She frowned. This was the third major fleet movement this month. She tapped a response that would reach her agents throughout Meridian space within seconds, thanks to quantum communication technology that other species believed was still theoretical. The door slid open, and a tall quantum consciousness representative floated in. The being existed as a swirl of light contained within a transparent environmental suit. Cultural attaché Howard, it greeted her in a melodic voice. The council session begins in 30 minutes. Will Earth be supporting the trade resolution? Catherine smiled warmly. Ambassador Lumen, how nice to see you. Earth supports open trade as always. We are a young species, eager to learn from our galactic neighbors. The light within the ambassador's containment suit pulsed. Your species' humility is admirable. If only the Vorn and Meridians shared such wisdom. After the ambassador left, Catherine activated her secure terminal. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared, with thousands of points of light representing human outposts, colonies, and agents. The official maps showed Earth controlling only 26 worlds within 50 light-years. This map showed the truth. Over 400 colonies spread across 3,000 light-years of space. Catherine zoomed in on the Perseus arm, where the newest human-led coalition was forming. Species that had been rescued by the underground were now becoming Earth's strongest allies. Together, they were creating something the major powers couldn't imagine, a true alliance of equals. Far from the political center of the galaxy, Steve Wright's son Paul now ran the trading post his father had established. At 35, Paul had spent his entire life on the edge of Vorn space, continuing the family tradition of helping oppressed species escape. A small ship docked at the station. Paul checked the security screens and saw a family of insectoid beings hurrying aboard. Their chitinous exoskeletons showed signs of poor nutrition and harsh conditions. Welcome, Paul said when they entered. You're safe now. The largest of the group, presumably the parent, clicked its mandibles. Through the translator, Paul heard, the underground told us to trust humans. They said you would help us reach free space. Paul nodded. We have a transport leaving in 6 hours. It will take you to Haven Colony. There are already 2,000 of your species living there. 2,000? The alien's compound eyes widened. We were told our kind was nearly extinct, under Vorn rule. The Vorn lie, Paul said simply. They don't want anyone to know how many have escaped. On Haven, your people are building a new society. They need skilled workers like you. After the family had been settled in temporary quarters, Paul sent an encrypted message to Catherine Howard's network. Another successful extraction. Another species that would remember human kindness when the galaxy finally changed. In a distant system, unlisted on any official star chart, Admiral Maya Chen observed fleet exercises from the bridge of the flagship Defiant. She had taken command after Admiral Ross retired. Now she watched as 300 warships performed precision maneuvers that would have been impossible for most alien fleets. Status report, she ordered. Her executive officer, Commander Jeff Bailey, approached with a datapad. All ships performing, at 97% efficiency or higher, Admiral. The new shield harmonics are working perfectly. Simulated weapons tests show 40% improvement over previous designs. Maya nodded. And our special project? The prototype is ready, Jeff said quietly. If it works as designed, it will change everything. The special project was humanity's most closely guarded secret. a device that could temporarily disable faster-than-light travel within an entire star system. If deployed, it would trap enemy fleets, preventing escape or reinforcement. No, other species had even theorized such technology was possible. On Earth, in the Oval Office, President Gregory Wilson met with the leaders of the secret space program. At 70, Gregory had spent his entire political career aware of humanity's true position in the galaxy. The quantum consciousness has created a new predictive AI, reported General Sarah Lawson. It's more advanced than previous versions. Our agents indicate it has identified statistical anomalies in galactic events. Meaning? The president asked. Meaning it's starting to see the pattern of human influence. It's detecting our fingerprints on too many seemingly unconnected events. Director Alan Fox, head of the Interstellar Intelligence Agency, spoke up. We've inserted a subtle code flaw into their systems. When the AI presents its findings, the data will appear corrupted. They'll dismiss it as a glitch. President Wilson leaned back in his chair. How much longer can we maintain the deception? The major powers are moving toward open conflict. We've prepared for 200 years. But are we truly ready? General, Lawson's expression remained calm. Mr. President, we control key positions in every major government, corporation, and military organization in the galaxy. We have technologies none of them have imagined. Most importantly, we have allies among the species they've oppressed. When the time comes, we'll be ready. In a small classroom on Colony World Harmony, a young teacher named Lisa Baker stood before 20 children from 15 different species. The colony was officially listed as a minor human outpost with a few hundred residents. In reality, it was home to over 2 million beings, a thriving metropolis where humans lived alongside aliens from across the galaxy. Today, Lisa said, we're learning about cooperation, about how different species can work together to build something better than any could create alone. A small blue child raised a tentacle. Teacher, why do the big powers fight each other instead of cooperating? Like we do, Lisa smiled gently. Because they're afraid, Trill. They've been afraid for thousands of years. They built their societies on the idea that they must dominate to survive. Will they ever learn? Asked a furry child with 6 eyes. Lisa looked out, the window at the city beyond, a place where differences were celebrated, where technology from dozens of worlds had been combined in new ways. It was one of hundreds of such communities humans had helped establish. They'll learn soon, she said, sooner than they expect. That evening, Lisa sent her regular report to Catherine Howard's network. The children's questions, the community's progress, the new technologies being developed through cooperation, all valuable information for the plan that had been unfolding for generations. In deep space, a Meridian patrol ship detected an anomaly and moved to investigate. Before it could report back, the ship vanished. No distress call, no debris field, no evidence it had ever existed. The silent network grew stronger. The web of human influence spread wider, and the major powers remained blind to the truth that was hiding in plain sight. By the time they would realize, it would already be too late. 200 years after first contact, the Cold War finally erupted into open conflict. The Battle of Proxima Centauri marked the beginning of what would become known as the Galactic Civil War. A Meridian battle fleet had entered the system without warning, claiming it as their territory. The Vorn Collective responded by sending their own ships. When quantum consciousness observers arrived, the situation exploded into violence. On Earth, billions watched the news feeds with staged concern. In public, human leaders expressed shock and fear. In private, they had been expecting this moment for generations. Benjamin Cook adjusted his plain gray suit as he prepared to meet with representatives from all 3 major powers. At 52, he looked like a simple diplomat, unremarkable, easily forgotten. This was his greatest asset. The Meridian ambassador has arrived, his assistant informed him. The others are already in the conference room. Benjamin nodded. On his wrist was what appeared to be a traditional Earth timepiece. In reality, it was a quantum signaling device connected to every human agent and fleet in the galaxy. He entered, The conference room with an expression of carefully crafted worry. Ambassadors, thank you for meeting with me during this difficult time. The Meridian representative spoke first. His golden skin glowed with barely contained anger. The Earth Federation must declare its allegiance. Your worlds sit at a strategic position. We offer protection in exchange for resource access and military bases. The Vorn Collective's representative, a hive-mind entity controlling a humanoid body, hissed. The Meridians offer slavery disguised as protection. The Collective would be a more beneficial partner. The being of light representing the quantum consciousness floated forward. Our predictive models give humanity a 98.7% chance of extinction within 5 years if this conflict continues. Choose wisely. Benjamin bowed his head, appearing overwhelmed. Earth is a young species. We aren't prepared for war. We need time to consider all options. There is no time, the Meridian snapped. Our fleet will arrive in your system in 72 hours. Your answer must come before then. After the ambassadors left, Benjamin remained seated alone in the conference room. He touched his wrist device and spoke a single phrase. Daybreak Protocol. Across the galaxy, human agents received the signal. On the Meridian capital world, Laura Freeman worked as a hospitality manager in the Imperial Palace. She had held this position for 15 years, becoming practically invisible to the high-ranking officials she served. When her wrist device vibrated with the daybreak code, she calmly walked to her quarters, removed a hidden device from a secret compartment and activated it. Throughout the massive palace complex, security systems began to fail in ways that would appear as random malfunctions. Laura changed from her service uniform into formal diplomatic attire that had been hidden for just this moment. She walked confidently through corridors where guards now found their weapons mysteriously deactivated. She entered the Emperor's private chamber unannounced and unopposed. The Emperor of the Meridian Empire looked up in shock. How did you get in here, guards? Your guards can't hear you, Laura said calmly. None of your security systems are functioning properly. She sat down across from the most powerful being in the Meridian Empire. My name is Ambassador Laura Freeman. I represent the true human government. We need to discuss the future of our species. Similar scenes played out simultaneously across the galaxy. In the Vorn Collective's central hive, a maintenance worker revealed himself as a high-ranking human operative. In the quantum consciousness nexus, a being thought to be one of their own kind revealed her true human identity. On thousands of worlds, in every major government and military installation, humans and their allies emerged from hiding. Dormant technologies activated. Hidden fleets appeared from dimensional pockets and artificial nebulae. Admiral Maya Chen sat on the bridge of her flagship as 10,000 human warships dropped their stealth fields simultaneously across Meridian space. All ships reporting ready. Admiral, Commander Bailey announced. The FTL disruptors are active in all target systems. Maya nodded. Deploy peacekeeping forces as planned. Minimum force, maximum presence. None of the human ships fired a single weapon. They didn't need to. The sheer number of vessels appearing from nowhere was enough to freeze the Meridian fleet in shock. Open a channel to the Meridian flagship, Maya ordered. The face of a stunned Meridian admiral appeared on screen. This is Admiral Maya Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet, she said calmly. Your ships are currently unable to engage FTL drives due to our containment technology. We have similar fleets in position throughout Vorn and quantum consciousness space. We don't seek conflict. Stand down, and no harm will come to your forces. On Earth, President Ava Nelson addressed the world from the Oval Office. My fellow citizens, today I must share the truth we have kept hidden for 2 centuries. Earth is not a minor player caught between galactic powers. We are the architects of a new galactic order. She explained how humanity had built a shadow empire, not of conquest but of connection. How they had rescued oppressed species, created hidden technologies, and prepared for the day when the major powers would push the galaxy into war. Chose not to reveal ourselves until necessary, she said. Today it became necessary. Across human space, civilians watched with a mixture of pride and amazement as the true extent of human influence was finally revealed. The official count of 26 colony worlds was replaced with the true number, 517. The modest defense fleet of 40 ships was revealed to be over 15,000 vessels. Most shocking to the galaxy was the revelation of the underground, the network that had helped millions of beings escape oppression. On hundreds of worlds, rescued species stepped forward to support humanity. In the quantum consciousness nexus, their most advanced predictive AI frantically recalculated probabilities. The data showed human influence in nearly 60% of all events it had analyzed over the past century. The machine had detected patterns but had dismissed them as statistical anomalies. The AI's conclusion appeared on screens throughout the nexus. Human dominance achieved without detection. Probability of successful resistance, 0.027%. At the edge of Vorn space, Paul Wright watched as the residents of his small trading post celebrated. The hidden city of 3 million beings, humans living alongside 200 alien species, no longer needed to hide. "Did you ever think you'd see this day?" asked an elderly alien who had been among the first rescued by Paul's father decades ago. Paul smiled. "My father always said it wasn't about if, but when. He said humans were playing the longest game in galactic history." On the Meridian capital world, Laura Freeman stood before the Emperor, who now understood the true situation. "For centuries, your empire has believed that domination was the only path to security," she said. "We're offering an alternative. Join us in building something better." The Emperor, faced with the stunning reality of human power, had no choice but to listen. By the time they realized, humanity had already dominated the galaxy, not through conquest, but through patience, compassion, and a plan 2 centuries in the making. 1 month after humanity revealed its true power, representatives from every spacefaring species gathered on a planet called New Horizon. None of the aliens had known this world existed until now. It was humanity's true capital, a beautiful planet with sprawling cities where all species lived together in harmony. The meeting hall was massive, built to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Floating platforms held water-breathing species. Climate-controlled areas served those who needed extreme heat or cold. Every detail showed careful planning for diversity. President Eric Daniels stood at the central podium. At 65, he had spent his entire political career preparing for this moment. Unlike his predecessors who had operated in the shadows, Eric would be the first human leader to openly guide the galaxy. "For 2 centuries, he began, we have worked silently among you. We learned your strengths, understood your conflicts, and built bridges where you built walls." The alien representatives murmured among themselves, some with anger, others with amazement, all with a growing understanding of how completely they had underestimated humans. "We didn't seek dominance," Eric continued, "but we prepared for it because we saw what division had cost this galaxy. Today isn't about human triumph. It's about a new beginning for all sentient beings." The Meridian Emperor rose from his seat. His golden skin had dulled slightly since the revelation of human power had shaken his empire. "You deceived us all," he said, his voice amplified throughout the hall. "For generations your kind pretended to be less than you were. You infiltrated our governments, studied our technologies, and manipulated galactic events. Why should any species trust humans now?" A small figure stood from the section where rescued species sat. She was from a race of avian beings nearly driven to extinction by Meridian expansion. Her feathers glowed with iridescent colors in the light. "My people trust humans," she said firmly. "When the Meridians took our homeworld and forced us into labor camps, humans created the underground to save us. They asked for nothing in return. They helped us build new communities, preserve our culture, and regain our dignity." One by one, representatives from dozens of formerly oppressed species stood to share similar stories. The insectoids from the outer rim, the crystalline lumari from the galactic core, the aquatic gnoll whose worlds had been polluted by Vorn mining operations. All had been aided by humanity's secret network. The leader of the quantum consciousness floated forward, light pulsing within its containment suit. "Our predictive models failed to anticipate human ascendance. This indicates a fundamental flaw in our understanding of galactic dynamics. Or perhaps, suggested Benjamin Cook from his seat near the human delegation, it indicates a flaw in believing that domination is the only path to power. We built our influence not by conquering worlds, but by helping others. The former cultural attaché Catherine Howard, now revealed as the director of humanity's vast intelligence network, added, "We studied all your species carefully. The major powers fought for territory and resources, but neglected the true power of cooperation and innovation." Admiral Maya Chen joined the conversation. "Your military technologies advanced along predictable paths. Each of you developed weapons and defenses based on your own biology and history. Humans combined the scientific approaches of hundreds of species, creating technologies none of you imagined possible." Screens around the hall displayed examples. Shields that combined zirconian crystal harmonics with Vorn energy phasing, propulsion systems that merged quantum consciousness dimensional theory with meridian gravitational manipulation, medical technologies that blended techniques from 17 different species to cure diseases once thought incurable. The Vorn collective representatives' multifaceted eyes narrowed. "What do humans want now? To rule the galaxy directly, President?" Daniel shook his head. "We propose the formation of a true galactic federation, not one dominated by three powers constantly undermining each other, but a democratic system where all species have representation based on ethical treatment of sentient beings rather than military might." He gestured to a group of humans and aliens sitting together. "Our legal experts from all species have drafted a proposed constitution. It guarantees rights for all sentient beings, establishes mechanisms for peaceful resolution of conflicts, and creates shared access to essential resources." The document appeared on screens throughout the hall. Many of the representatives leaned forward, studying it with interest. "This is not a human document," explained Lisa Baker, who had moved from teaching on colony world harmony to helping draft the proposal. "It incorporates philosophical and legal concepts from 37 species. We believe it represents universal values of respect, freedom, and cooperation." Over the next 7 days, the gathered representatives debated, argued, and gradually moved toward agreement. The major powers initially resisted, but soon recognized they had little choice. Human fleets positioned throughout the galaxy made military opposition impossible. More importantly, the support humanity had from hundreds of formerly marginalized species created a moral authority that couldn't be ignored. On the final day, as the historic agreement was being signed, Ryan Taylor watched from an observation deck above the assembly. At 86, he was one of the few still alive who had helped design humanity's 2-century shadow expansion. Beside him stood Elizabeth Morgan, his former student and successor. "Do you think they'll ever forgive us for the deception?" Ryan asked quietly. Elizabeth smiled slightly. "They don't need to forgive us, they just need to help us build something better than what came before." Ryan nodded, watching as species that had been enemies for millennia now reluctantly cooperated. "It almost didn't work, you know. There were moments when I thought we'd be discovered too soon." "But we weren't," Elizabeth said. "Humans have always been good at hiding in plain sight, at seeming harmless until the moment we reveal our strength." Below them, the future of the galaxy was taking shape. The new Galactic Federation would face challenges and setbacks in the years to come. Not all transitions would be peaceful, but the age of endless Cold War had ended. As President Daniels signed the final document, applause broke out across the assembly hall. Even some representatives from the former major powers joined in, recognizing that humanity had achieved something remarkable. They had dominated the galaxy not through superior weapons or brutal conquest, but through patience, compassion, and careful planning. By understanding other species better than they understood themselves. By building connections rather than walls. By the time they realized what humanity had accomplished, it was already done, and the galaxy would never be the same again.